To visit with me about this program, and I want to thank you and the mayor for your commitment to address this issue. As we know, young men of color deal with issues ranging from poverty to food insecurity, abuse, violence on a daily basis. And I think, excuse me, the initiative that my brother's keeper has put in place to address some of those issues are real, and I think we can do some good stuff with this. Education and employment is very important as well, and I think that's the direction that they want to take. One other thing I want to credit you on is that you've taken, you didn't mention this, but you've taken this program in a different direction. You're uplifting it a little bit, I'm gonna say not better, but you're taking it to higher heights than the program than the President Obama had originally laid out, and I think that's addressing these issues straight on, and I just appreciate what you told me yesterday, and I appreciate the President looking at this. I think President Obama sees the importance of addressing these issues within men of color. My question to you is this. I know you mentioned yesterday that your budget for this startup was roughly around $2 million. Has HISD, who pretty much handle our children and receive tax revenue, been approached and talked about trying to fill the gaps for some of this?
We've been working with them all along. The strategy here is to align the things that they're doing inside the school with what happens after school, and with and actually bringing additional things on those campuses. I don't envy the position that they're in. I mean, when you start talking to individual principals and some of the budget constraints that they have, they're having to make decisions about whether or not they're going to hire a math teacher or a social worker, when in fact they realize that a significant part of their student population need that level of intervention. And that's why it's important that all sectors of this community really pull together to leverage what they can offer to get some positive results here. I don't think you can point to just one institution and ask them to fix it.
Well, the reason I asked the question, when the superintendent first came to Houston, and I'm drawing a blank on the program, he pulled out to address issues within minority communities. I know he came to the rodeo and we gave him some money.
He did the Apollo program.
The Apollo program. And I don't know the success on that program. I haven't heard a lot of positive feedback. But the question is, they have money allocated for it. So why don't we consider talking, if you haven't already, talked to them about help funding this program?
We have and we will.
Thank you.
Mayor Richard Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, thank you for your support of this, and Director, I want to thank you first and foremost for your passion for this and talking to you. It's very clear, and also for the work that you've already done. I'm very supportive of this. I commend and support our President's efforts for criminal justice reform that have been in the news lately. I think it's long overdue, and I appreciate him for taking up that cause. If you look at our prisons, they're filled with men and women, and with many different stories, but some of the common indicators are no secret. It's poverty, it's illiteracy, it's lacking a mentor, it's lacking a father figure. And if you look at the overarching goals of this, from entering school ready to learn, reading at grade level by 3rd grade, graduating from high school ready for college and career, completing post-secondary education and training, successfully entering the workforce, reducing crime and violence, and providing a second chance. Not only is it benefiting their individual lives, but it's benefiting our city. It's preparing us for the next wave of growth in the city, and making sure that these young men and women are prepared to lead the city in the future. And it's much more effective to invest in the early years rather than in the out years, which is so much more expensive. I often state that in the state of California, it costs sometimes close to $200,000 to detain a young juvenile within their CJ system. Mm-hmm. For that amount of money, you might as well invest and send them all to college for $200,000 per year. And so we've got to think as a society, as a community, as a city, how we invest these dollars. If you take one of the goals, for example, reading at grade level by 3rd grade, we know that statistics bear out that if they're not reading at 3rd grade level by that age, that the odds of them dropping out of school are very, very high. And so we know that, so what are we doing about it? And so this creates an opportunity for us to address this. I like the collaboration across all sectors and many different stakeholders, and I also like the leveraging of dollars, because I firmly believe that if this money could be allocated somehow and you're able to secure this money, that it'll be, you'll use it to leverage other resources as well. They want to see that we have skin in the game. And so again, I want to commend and thank you. I support it fully, and I hope, again, I know the elephant in the room is finding the money. I know you're working hard to try to do that, but whatever we can do to be helpful with that, you know, I'm on board, and then I hope we could get to that finish line, because I know great things will happen because of this. So thank you.
Thank you. And for those of you who have the book in front of you, pages 16 and 17 outline the president's milestones, but the pages 28 and 29 are good to show kind of where our recommendations are and kind of a roadmap to go forward. Councilmember Christie?
I appreciate the report. I think as a society, there's no better endeavor that we can be in. And the word prevention is throughout the book. It's preventing crime and preventing drugs, preventing illiteracy, which leads to crime, as the Mayor Pro Tem said. I'm looking at 35 years of trying to solve these problems. And I think in a global perspective, it should be my brother's keepers, my sister's keepers, and it should be that all children are at risk. You know, in public schools, we try to categorize gifted and talented, at risk. Every child is at risk to some degree, and every child is gifted and talented to some degree. You went over the different groups, and I think over those 35 years, we've tried to tie in the police, the constables, the churches, and it's funny you brought up Big Brothers, Big Sisters, because that's what we try to do in mentoring young kids. Teachers, public school, this has been their endeavor. So there's 50 million plus in the public schools. Those teachers are counselors. They're parents. I mean, they fulfill all these roles, and they can't do it. In schools, and you're talking about the young kids, we don't have enough male teachers to be a role model to those kids. But you're going to get it by paying teachers properly. We've studied this over the decades, and I think Texas had No Child Left Behind. That's saying no matter what color, what race, what creed, that every child can learn. And it went to the basics in education, that if they can't read, you don't have first base chance. So everything you're covering here is excellent. I'm just glad that Houston Health is being part of it, because it takes more than a village to raise a child nowadays. And you have to tie in the parents, whether they want to or not. I've seen successful schools tie in parents and drag them to the campus to solve these problems, because like Mayor Pro Tem said, you know, the average prisoner is $30,000 a year. So we need to invest the dollars in prevention of crime, prevention of ignorance, prevention of insecurities in these children. And you'll solve the problems that way. But look to the model and all the different programs that the public schools have done. Let's take education serious, because you know, we need to put them as some of the Asian schools or Finland, but they're the most esteemed person in this world, because they're with the children most of the time. And then they say if Martin Luther King were alive today, he'd be concentrating on keeping families together, because that raises the child in the right way. So It's a good endeavor, and we couldn't be doing anything better, but the public schools, and even the private schools, charter schools, and the job placement, Crystal Ray does good, other charter schools, and helping these kids at a young age see what profession they want to be in, get them in part-time jobs to where they can have self-respect and earn. So it's a great endeavor. I appreciate you bringing this to City Council.
Councilmember Green?